Hi there, it's Abby here from Get Your Hook On. Welcome to my Sholach along. This is a shal, not a cal. As you know, Sholach has been in the world for a year now, and as I decided to give my original blanket away to the people that I designed it for, I've decided to crochet it again for myself. Well, my husband, because he's been bugging me for ages to make him one. So I'm just going to take you through the first few pages of the pattern PDF, just to explain a few bits and bobs as an introduction. But if you're quite happy that you don't need to listen to me rabbiting on for a few minutes, do feel free to switch me off and just, carry on crocheting. So just to give you some background to the Sholak pattern, last summer I was on holiday on Arran, which is just a wee island off the west coast of Scotland, and some friends of mine, Craig and Kelly, who were also holidaying there, we met up for a cuppa. Now, Craig and Kelly run the Sholak Christmas tree farm in Blairgowrie, and I asked if they would be okay with me designing a blanket for them, and they said, yeah, cool, go for it. So I was sitting in our holiday accommodation, which was a 200-year-old farmer's cottage, which was very cool, and I sat and designed Sholak before going back home from holiday, charting it all up, and then crocheting it. I never thought in a million years Sholak would be as popular as it's been, and it's really been quite overwhelming. Uh, who knew that pine trees would be so popular? Just, it's mad. Anyway, so the pattern gives you the yarn stats for what I used for my blanket, which was Seardar Jewel Spun in Golden Green and Stylecraft Special Aran and Parchment. I love parchment. I use it a lot. You'll probably seen that in some of my other patterns. You can of course use any yarn you like. It doesn't have to be Aran. Just remember, if you use DK or lighter, then your blanket will turn out a little smaller, unless you decide to add on repeats. Also remember that for Mosaic crochet, high contrast colours are much better. So this PDF I'm showing you is for US terms, but there is a separate file for UK terms if that's what you prefer. I learned to crochet from YouTube videos, and so I use US terms myself. But since I'm in Britain, and there is obviously a lot of UK users too, you get the choice of which to use. Please pay attention to which pattern you've downloaded. I wouldn't want any crocheters out with the US using the UK terms and getting really bizarre stitches in their projects. The front page will tell you if the PDF you've got is US or UK. Now, the next two pages in the PDF are really important as they explain the rules to Mosaic crochet. Please do read these as they will help you understand the basics of how you create your blanket. In fact, if you're new to Mosaic crochet, please do read the whole PDF before you begin. Don't just skip ahead to the charts. I do get a lot of messages asking questions. How do I do this? How do I do that? But it's all in the pattern, so don't skip past it. If you're a left-hander, you can follow the charts from left to right instead, and your last stitch will become your first stitch. Or you can just follow the written instructions as they are, but you can't do both. So if you're left-handed, you choose either the charts and read from left to right, or you choose the written. Now, this page explains to you how to read a Mosaic crochet chart. As it says, charts can be a wee bit confusing when you first look at them, but once you understand what you're looking at, they're so much easier to work from. Now, this pattern here has no relevance to the Sholak pattern. It's just an example of how to read a chart. You can use this to practice reading a chart and even crocheting it if you like. So you read a chart starting at the very bottom of the chart and you're working your way up. And you read the chart from right to left, of course, if you're right-handed. So you start here, you create your border stitch and you work all the way along. You fasten it off and then you start again. So let's start here. So row 1, as you can see here, is colour A. So create your border stitch and see this box here that's in red, that is your repeat box. So border stitch, work until you finish the box and then start at the beginning of the repeat again and along and again and along, and then once you've finished your repeats you work your last stitch, which is LS, and then your final border stitch, and then you fasten it off, you snip it off, and then you start again from the right hand side and you tie on colour B. And then you repeat that. You do your border stitch, you do your repeats, crochet your last stitch, do your border stitch, fasten it off, start again, row 3, colour A. Now in these charts, if you see a blank box, then you're going to back loop single crochet in the row that you're working in. If you see an X, then you're going to front loop double crochet in the stitches 2 rows below. So see this X here, you're going to go over row 2 and do it into the front loop of the stitch in row 1. If you're following the written instructions down here, you're working from left to right. You create your border stitch, you follow the repeats in red between the asterisk is that wee Viking cartoon, is he not? Okay, you do the stitches between the stars, repeat, repeat, repeat. Then finally you do your last stitch before your final border stitch, and then your final border stitch, and that's you. This is the full design image, and this is what your blanket will look like if you follow my patterns in order. You can of course swap them around or make them more symmetrical, as I've seen some others do. I didn't design it to be symmetrical, as I wanted it to look like you're looking across a forest of trees, but it's your blanket, so you make it however you like. Okay, so this is the magic maths bit. Now the pattern is a repeat of 24 stitches. You'll see here the starting chain is a multiple of 24 plus 3 plus 1 extra for turning. So just to explain this, the plus 3 is your 2 border stitches and your last stitch, which aren't a part of the repeat. Your plus 1 is your turning chain, which is only done once at the very beginning when you're turning to single crochet back along your starting chain. Of course, if you want to start with a foundation single crochet rather than chaining however many stitches, then you will just ignore the plus 1. So if you want to crochet something smaller, like a wall hanging or a table runner, you could do, for example, a multiplication of 3. So 24 times 3, 72. Then your plus 3, which is 75, and then plus 1 for turning. So your starting chain is 76, and each row thereafter will have 75 stitches in it. Now, starting on this pattern for the blanket, the starting chain is 196, which is 8 repeats of the 24 stitches, plus your 3, plus your turning stitch. So you'll have 195 stitches per row thereafter. There are 3 foundation rows on this pattern that you only crochet once at the beginning of the project. After that, you just follow the patterns in order from 1 to 6, and then start again at 1. You'll see I've included a wee table here, just so you can tick off once you've completed a pattern. Okay, so some of you will have seen these before, and in fact have used them, but I've designed some additions for Sholach that you can download for free from Ravelry. These are a selection of log cabins and tents. It's completely up to you if you want to use these. It's also completely up to you where in your blanket you decide to place them. It's your blanket. You don't have to use these, but if you want to, you can. I'm just about to release a few more free editions too, and I'll post about these on the Facebook group. And I'll also send out emails via Ravelry to everyone who's already purchased Sholak, so you'll have the link to the patterns. So I'm not going to go through the actual charts from the pattern here, as someone is bound to do a screenshot and post the charts to Pinterest for all to see, as I've seen happen to so many other designers before. So just for copyright protection, I'm keeping them out of the video. So that's my introduction to the Sholak along. Go get the pattern if you're joining in, decide on your yarn, and I'll post another video soon on how to get started and my biggest top tips. By the way, the handsome kilted man, I'm afraid, does not come with the pattern. Sorry. That's me for now. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye!